Okay, so good evening, everybody. This is the Chapter 3 review for geometry. Now, so I did go through and I did all of them, but I'm not actually going to narrate all of them. Some I might just skip to the end of the page, leave it there for a little bit so you can see the work, and we'll go through them. But I will go through at least half of them and narrate them. So, in each of our classes, I'm also sick. So I'm sorry if I'm a little bit difficult to understand. I'll try and pause it before I blow my nose or sneeze or anything like that. So let's go. So on any of the first half of this test before we get to the triangles, you really should have that diagram that I put up on the board when we started the review. It's got the angles marked 1 through 8, and then it goes through all the different variations of it. And here, actually, I can pull that up really quickly. Give me a second. So it's all the different variations of it. Apparently I can't. Oh wait, I can. So it's this. Now if you don't have this written down, hit pause right now, take notes, and make sure you have this. Make sure you have this on your test. This is key to understanding angle pairs. So what I'm going to do on each of these is I'm going to match up which angles they are and identify the relationship. So for here, what I want to do is I want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm looking at angle 4 and angle 8. Now when I look at that chart on angle 4 and angle 8, I see that they're corresponding. Okay, so we've got these two parallel lines and the transversal. It's important that you're labeling from the two parallel lines and the transversal. Same here, bottom left, that's going to be corresponding. That again would be 4 and 8. Now here, if I were to label these, remember you start here at 1 and then you go clockwise, start here at 5 and go clockwise. So here you're actually going to end up with 4 and 6. Now if I looked at 4 and 6, I'd see that they're alternate interior. Alternate means they're on opposite sides of the transversal. Interior means that they're in between. See right here? See how they're in between the two different parallel lines? So they're alternate interior. And then the last one is corresponding as well. Now, moving on. So now we have to go an extra step. We have to identify them and then realize what the relationship is. So here we're looking at B and 34. Now, what I would do is I would kind of rotate the paper until it matched up with my diagram and realize that if I went, okay, so if I rotate it and went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we're looking at 4 and 8. So we have 4 and 8, again, corresponding, which means they're congruent. These ones, alternate interior angles, congruent. And then that's how the other two would match up. Okay, moving on. Now these ones, another step in difficulty. So not only do we have to identify them, but we then have to solve something. So here we're finding the value of x. So notice that we're stepping up in difficulty each time. The first time is just naming the relationship. The second time is identifying what that relationship means, whether they're corresponding or whether they're congruent or whether they are supplementary. And now we're going to use those in order to identify, and find for x. So here on this first one, what I would do is I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 4 and 6, and look at those and see that they're alternate interior angles. So we see that they are alternate interior angles, which means that they're congruent. So we're going to set them equal to each other. 6x plus 2, because congruent angles have equal measures. 6x plus 2 equals 32. We subtract 2 from both sides, and we get 6x equals 5. And that's it. Okay, so all the rest of them also congruent, alternate interior, alternate exterior, and corresponding. And that's what that would look like. If you need to copy that down, check your work, just hit pause. Okay, now here, a little bit difficult. So here we're going to start adding in supplementary angles. We have a linear pair. Linear pairs are supplementary by nature. So we go 70 plus question mark equals 180 equals 110. Now here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looking at 4 and 5. Now if I look at my chart, I see that those are same side interior angles, which means they're supplementary. So same side interior, supplementary. So I know that that means they add up to 180, do the math, and I get 118. That's what that last one would look like. So, same general idea, just amping it up a little bit. So, and remember what we're doing here is we're using the, properties of these angles pairs. So here on number 16, they are linear, which means that they're going to add up to 180. So we go x plus 120 plus x plus 70. Hey, Cleopatra. Meow. Meow. Okay, what? You have food, Mother? Okay. My cat just wanted to say hi. Meow. Okay. So x plus 70 plus x plus 120 equals 180. Combine like terms, because they're a linear pair. Combine like terms, we get 2x plus 190 equals 180. We're going to subtract 190 from both sides. And we get 2x equals negative 10. Divide both sides by 2. And we get x equals negative 5. Excuse me, what? Why are you so whiny? Okay, now, here we actually have to find the measure of the angle, so we're going to take this and we're going to plug it back in. So we get 70 minus 5 or 65, and negative 5 plus 20, or 120, 115. So these next two, they're corresponding. Now again, look, we had a negative x. We had x equals negative 5. Totally okay. Not okay if we had had a negative angle. So if we had gotten like negative 75, we're like, oh, that angle is negative 5 degrees. That can't happen. But the negative x is fine. So the next two are corresponding and corresponding, so they're equal to each other. Okay? So we set them equal to each other. Go back and plug the x in. That's how they would look. And then on number 19, they're same side interior, so I set them equal to 180. Again, I want you guys to be able to watch this and have it be helpful. If you're not sure how I got any of these answers, feel free to come and ask me. Okay. Now, here we're saying find the measure of the indicated angle that makes U and V parallel. Now, these are the converse of the theorem. So, up here, we have, let's say, look at number 19. Number 19 uses the same side interior angle theorem. It says that if two parallel lines are crossed by a transversal, then same side interior angles are supplementary. So here we're starting with the fact that we have two parallel lines. We can tell that because of right there. And then we are going to go to the angle relationships because of the parallel lines. Well, here what we're doing is we're kind of starting on the other side. We're saying, what do these measures have to be in order to prove the line's parallel? So if we were to look at 20, we see that they're alternate exterior angles. So the converse of the alternate exterior angle theorem says that if two lines are crossed by a transversal and the alternate exterior angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So in order for U and V to be parallel, those two angles have to be congruent. So the question mark has to equal 123 degrees. So any other, if it was 122.5 degrees, then those two lines would not be parallel. Same general idea for 21, except they're alternate interior angles. Now, again, numbers 22 and 23 just kind of amp up the difficulty a little bit. 22, we have same side interior angles, so those are going to be supplementary, which means that they add up to 180 degrees. So we got 12x plus 6 plus 13x minus 1. I don't know why that stopped. Minus 1 equals 180. Back up a little bit. So if I added those up, I'd get 15x plus 5 equals 180. 15x equals 175. Or x equals you know, 10? No. That's 25x. 25x. Okay, because I can count. 12 plus 13 is not 15. Actually, it's 25. So that's going to equal 7. Okay, now in this next one, you've already got that. So you get x equals 21. I forgot to plug it in. So I plug in the 7 right there and the 7 right there. I get 12 times 7 is 84. 84 plus 6 is 90. 13x minus 1, that gives me 91 minus 1, or 90. So they actually both end up being 90, which means they're right angles. But more importantly, for this, we also know that they are supplementary. Excuse me, sorry about that. So, what? So the real issue here is that my cat thinks I'm up too late, and she's right. So here we have x equals 21. So we know that we should be getting 89 here. So let's go 14x equals 95. Oh, because I divided by... That's not right. Okay. So there, that's a 14, which means that x equals 6. So I'm going to plug that 6 in there. 14 times 6 is 84. 84 plus 5, 89. So that checks. Okay, moving on. Now 24, what we're going to do is we're going to use the Triangle Angle Sum Theorem, which is just fun to write. Yeah, triangle angle sum, and the triangle angle sum theorem says that the interior angles of a triangle must add up to 180 degrees. So we have three angles here, 80, x plus 64, and x plus 54. So we're going to add them all up, set them equal to 180, and solve for x. Combine like terms, we get 2x plus 198 equals 180. We're going to subtract 198 from both sides, and we get 2x equals negative 18. Divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals negative 9. So when I plug a negative 9 in there, I get negative 9 plus 54. Because keep in mind, all we're having to do is solve for angle A. You don't need to solve for everything, just need to solve for A. 54 minus 9. 45 degrees. Okay. 25, 26, 27, same thing. Add them up, set them equal to 180. Find x, so there x equals 10. Plug it in right there. 3 times 10 equals 30. Now if you want to check your work here, what you want to do is you want to plug in that 10 for the other angle 2, and you'd get 60. So you have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, and that checks. That's a 180 degrees. Same idea for 26 and 27. Okay, so again, if you want to check your work, just hit pause and check it there. So, these next ones are tricky. Okay, so what we're going to do here, I'm actually going to do something a little bit different because I'm not sure. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to label this angle X and this angle Y. Now, in order to get to solve for our question mark, which is really where we want to go, we're going to need to do a couple things. We're going to need to figure out Y first, then X, then the question mark, and here's Y. W-H-Y, not the letter Y. Okay, so we're going to start off with 30 plus 20 plus Y equals 180 degrees. We also know that because X and Y are vertical angles, they're congruent, which means their measures are equal. And then we know that 28 plus X plus question mark equals 180. So we're going to solve for this Y right here. It's going to plug in. That's going to give us our X. We're going to take that X, plug that in right there, and then we'll be able to solve for our question mark. So we're going to start off with, now I can erase all that. And we're going to go 30 plus 20 plus, I switched my X and my Y's, oopsie, plus Y equals 180. That gives me 50 plus Y equals 180. Subtract 50 from both sides, and I get Y equals 130. Now I know that if that's 130, it's 130 up top. Because again, if you go back to the beginning of this, they were equal. So I have 28 plus 130 plus the question mark equals 180. Combine like terms, I get 158 plus the question mark equals 180. Or the question mark equals 22. Okay? So, moving on. Now this next one, I know that 65 plus 45 plus X equals 180. That's going to give me 110 plus X equals 180. Or X equals 70. Okay, so now I know that that's 70. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at how these three angles relate, 70, 70, and Y. Well, they form a straight line altogether, so it's the angle addition postulate. If we break a big angle up into little angles, then they all add back up. So we have 70, 70 plus Y equals 180. Run that through, and we get Y equals 40. Now we know that's 40, so now we can go 60 plus 40 plus the question mark equals 180. That gives us 100 plus the question mark equals 180, or the question mark equals 80. Again, if this isn't making sense to you, go back, re-watch it, and go from there. So 30, same general idea. We have our 3, so we're going to solve for X first. We get 73. Solve for Y, we get 43, and use that to solve for the question mark, which is 59. 31, same thing. So again, I wrote the three equations down there. So I know that 60 plus 45 plus X equals 180. I know that x plus 75 plus y equals 180. And I know that y plus 90 plus the question mark equals 180. X is 75, plug that into the second equation. Y is 30, plug that into the third equation. Question mark is 60. Okay. So, these next sets. So these are, remember, if you remember, the external angle theorem, the triangle exterior angle theorem. And what this means is that the outside angle is equal to the sum of the two remote interior angles. Check your notes on that. So, what we're going to do is we know that the outside angle is equal to the sum of the two inside angles. So we're going to go 11x plus 11 equals 30 plus 9x minus 1. Okay, and I just want to quick kind of explain this again. So if I know that, I'm going to put a star right here. That's not a very good star. So that's my missing angle. I know that angle V, angle W, and the star have to add up to 180. I know that 11x plus 11 and the star add up to 180. So if I set those up, and this is like the quickest proof ever. If I went W plus V plus star, I don't know what, just can't draw stars tonight, plus star equals 180. And I knew that 180 also equaled star plus 11x plus 11. Then I can cut out the middleman there, set them equal to each other. If I then subtract the star from both sides, notice what I get is I get W plus V equals 11x plus 11. And that's the exterior angle theorem. So, I'm going to combine like terms. 11x plus 11 equals 9x plus 29. I'm going to subtract 9x from both sides. Keep my x's positive. 2x plus 11 equals 29. Subtract 11 from both sides, and I get 2x equals 18. That gives me x equals 9. Now, unlike previously where it said always find a or something like that, here we have a varying, so we have to find v. Okay, so we have to look back at the problem and see, hey, where do I need to plug that x into? And it's the 9x minus 1. So I'm going to plug that in there, 9 times 9 minus 1, 81 minus 1, or 80. Okay? So that would be the answer. Measure of angle V equals 80. Same thing on the second problem. And here we go. So we got x equals 11, plugged it back into PDE, and we got 130. So, moving on. 34, 35, same general idea. Again, if you're having trouble with those, hit the pause button, look at what I did. If you still don't understand it, which is fine, come and ask me a question, or email me, or whatever you need. So, write the point-slope form of the equation of the line described. So, point-slope form. And again, we talked about this. If you know you're going to be using the same form over and over, write it down. Save yourself the trouble. So, 36, hands down the hardest one of these. So, we have the line x equals 0. Now, if you look back in your notes, you'll see that if a line has the form of x equals, it is horizontal. And by that I mean vertical. So x equals lines are up and down. So x equals 0, that line, that's our y-axis. Because all along the y-axis is where x equals 0. So we need a line parallel to that that goes through 2, negative 4. So that dotted line, that's going to represent what we need. Now, the point there is 2, negative 4. Well, what is the x going to equal at 2, negative 4? The x equals 2. And that's the line. Now, for the rest of these, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find the slope and then plug it in. So, number 37, it's parallel to y equals 2x minus 1. Well, we know that the line 2x minus 1, that's in slope-intercept, so we know the slope is 2. And so we know that any line parallel to that has the same slope. So we know our slope is 2. So then we plug our x1, y1, right there, that's the point they're giving us, into the equation. We get y minus 5 equals 2 times x minus 5. Now, a lot of times people go, oh, we don't need to solve it. And that's, I mean, yes and no, you did solve it. This is an acceptable answer. This is point slope form. What people really mean when they say, do we need to solve it, is they're saying, do we need to put it in slope intercept? And unless the question specifically calls for that, the answer is no. So, notice on this next one, so our point now is -2, -1. So we know the slope is 4/5. What is it, Cleo? What? We know the slope is 4/5, right? So any line parallel to that is also going to have a slope of 4/5. So now, notice that we're putting in two numbers with negatives. So when we drop them into y minus y1 equals m minus times x minus x1, this is what it's going to look like. Y minus a -1 equals 4/5 times x minus a -2. And that's actually okay to leave it like that. Now the better answer is y plus 1 equals 4/5 times x plus 2. Just because that's more simplified. However, if the two negatives work better for you, I'm okay with that. Same general idea for 39, and that's how that would look. Either that or my cat thinks I'm crazy for just sitting here and talking to myself. Okay. Now, last little bit. These are the last 4. Almost there. So what we're going to do here is, now if we look at number 40, it's through 3, 2 in parallel to y equals x. Well, when we look at this, the coefficient there, did I skip one? No, I'm good. The coefficient there is 1. So we know our slope is 1 for any parallel line. So you go y minus 2 equals 1 times x minus 3. You can also just write that as y minus 2 equals x minus 3. Now, perpendicular. Now remember, perpendicular slopes are the negative reciprocal of each other. So the reciprocal is we're going to take this fraction and flip it upside down. The negative reciprocal is we're going to change the sign. So we have -3/2. That's our perpendicular slope to the line they give us. Okay? So what we're going to do with that is we're then going to plug it in. So we're going to go slope equals -3/2. So we have y minus 1 equals -3/2 times x plus 2. Again, if you feel more comfortable writing it out as x minus a -2, that's fine. Now, number 42, our slope of the line, our reference line is 1/3. So the negative reciprocal of that, we're going to flip it over first. We get 3/1, or 3. We're going to negative that, and we get -3. So that's the slope. And then we have y plus 1, or y minus a -1, equals -3 times x minus 1. Now this next one, if we have the line y equals -4, it's going to be right there. So any perpendicular line to that at 4, -4 is going to be horizontal. So we say, what does x equal at 4, -4? X equals 4. And that's it. Oh, we have 2 more. But we basically already done these. So there you go. If you have any questions on these, let me know. If not, have a wonderful evening. And I'll see you guys in class tomorrow.